Welcome everybody. My name is Dylan Yates and I'm the scholar in residence at the Old Stone House here. The Continental Congress assembled in Philadelphia declared independence from Great Britain on July 4th, 1776. 3 days later, on July 7th, 1776, 248 years ago today, the New York Congress assembled at Poughkeepsie ratified the Declaration, and George Washington ordered broadsides of the revolutionary document posted throughout Manhattan and Brooklyn and to be read aloud to the American troops preparing for the British assault. Opposition to King George III's increasingly violent attempts to retain control of his American colonies had reached a breaking point. With hundreds of British warships amassing in New York Harbor, tensions were high. When Captain Oliver Brown heard the Declaration of Independence read, he decided to tear down the gilded statue of King George III at Bowling Green in Manhattan. Brown was 23 years old, from Lexington, Massachusetts. He had witnessed the Boston Massacre, participated in the Tea Party, helped push the British out of Boston, and then come to New York to prepare for another fight. On the night of July 7th, Brown organized a crew of 40 sailors and soldiers to pull the king off his pedestal, cut up his body, and mutilate his head. They even cut off the little crown finials on the fence surrounding the statue, which still remains there today. The statue of George III was placed at Bowling Green during the American outrage over the Stamp Act in 1766 as a reminder of who was in charge. It was modeled after a statue of Marcus Aurelius in Rome and made of lead gilded with a layer of gold. Subjects of the British Empire were taught to revere their king as an agent of God, but for Brown and his compatriots, the statue symbolized unjust tyranny. The next morning, General Washington was outraged. While he acknowledged that Brown and his crew were motivated by the zeal in the public cause, Washington felt that tearing down the king made his army look unprofessional. But since the damage had already been done, American commanders ordered the statue to be melted down into musket balls, some of which may have been used right here 7 weeks later at the Battle of Brooklyn. Brown later wrote that he was ashamed of his behavior that night. Nevertheless, his actions served as a powerful inspiration. Tearing down the king challenged the edifice of empire and came to symbolize how united people could confront abuses of power, no matter how strong. The Declaration of Independence and stories and drawings of the destruction of the statue circulated across the Atlantic, helping further inspire revolutionary acts in France, Haiti, Latin America, and beyond over the 19th century. In the 20th century, pulling down statues became a global symbol of resistance to oppression, and that symbol has recently returned home in recent calls to tear down monuments of white supremacy. America has not yet lived up to its founding promise that all are created equal with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But together we can draw inspiration and power from the past to tear down the tyrannies that continue to oppress us so we can build the society that we deserve. We will now read the Declaration of Independence and then tear down the king. But before we do, I just want to thank Kim Mayer, Madeline Wall, Emily, and the entire staff of the Old Stone House for hosting this event. Be sure to subscribe to their mailing list, like them on social media, and come back here in late August to commemorate the Battle of Brooklyn. I also want to thank Steph Ching, Jana Littleton, Masha Bez, Gray Jones, and the illustrious Paul Carlotto for building this exact replica of the statue with me. And most importantly, thank you all for coming and being part of this today. So now, let's tear down the king. When in the course of, come read the first.
Okay. Of course, I just got a phone call. That's another story. I'm not going to stay.
That's okay.
Okay. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which had connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, offenses are designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government.
The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused to assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the recommendation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of the new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for their tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishments for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond the seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for the introduction of some absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of government, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with the power to legislate for us in cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his own protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun, with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taking captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrectionists among us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, subjects, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, peace in friends. Wait, in peace, friends.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as a free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Huzzah! Now, would anybody like to come up and help knock down this statue? Please come up here. Okay. Come on, if all right. Come on. Now look at you. Sorry, we don't have to knock it down. They're going to push it over. Come on. Come on. I'll push it over. Go ahead behind it. Yeah. All right. Everybody touch the statue. And on the count of 3, we're going to push it over. Come on, touch the statue. 1, 2, 3. Keep going.
Charlie, give me a all right. Yeah, good. Let's see if there's one piece we can get over here. Okay, you want to
What you got? Nathaniel, what was in the head?
Let's do some for
I think so. It's getting better every year.